Recent findings from Harvard's study of adult development, now spanning 85 years of research, reveal that most people are chasing the wrong kind of happiness, and it's destroying their mental health. This isn't just another self-help theory. We're talking about hard science that tracks real people from teenagers to old age, measuring what actually creates lasting fulfillment versus what just feels good in the moment. Today we're breaking down the latest psychology of happiness with Dr. Mayuri Cardos, and this conversation will completely change how you think about joy, pleasure, and what it really means to live a fulfilling life. Because here's what most people don't realize about happiness: the pleasure trap that's destroying mental health. There's a massive neurochemical difference between what most people think makes them happy and what actually creates lasting well-being. When I ask people what makes them happy, they usually mention things like getting likes on social media, buying something new, having a drink after work, or achieving a goal they've been working toward. But here's the problem: these aren't actually happiness. They're pleasure, and understanding this distinction could save your mental health. Let me explain what happens in your brain when you get a dopamine hit from checking your phone versus when you experience genuine connection with another person. When you see those red notification badges or get a new follower, your brain releases dopamine. This creates a quick spike of excitement, but it's short-lived. Within minutes, you're back to baseline or even lower. Your brain starts craving the next hit almost immediately. Now contrast this with what happens when you have a meaningful conversation with a friend or spend quality time with family. Your brain releases completely different chemicals: serotonin, oxytocin, and even endorphins. These create a sustained sense of well-being that can last for hours or even days. The key difference is that dopamine hits leave you wanting more, while these other neurochemicals leave you feeling satisfied and content. Research tracking participants over extended periods shows something alarming. People who primarily sought pleasure through shopping, social media, gaming, or substance use showed significant decreases in baseline happiness levels over time. Their brains literally rewired themselves to need more and more stimulation to feel normal. I've seen this pattern countless times in my practice. Consider the research on hospital patients who had views of nature versus brick walls. Patients with garden views recovered faster, needed less pain medication, and reported better moods. This wasn't about achieving something or getting validation. It was about connection to something larger than themselves. Yet most people spend their days chasing digital rewards instead of these deeper forms of satisfaction. The hedonic treadmill is this phenomenon where people think the next purchase, the next achievement, or the next experience will finally make them happy. But what actually happens is that each time they get what they want, their baseline expectation increases. So they need something bigger, better, or more expensive to get the same feeling. It's like being addicted to a drug where you need higher and higher doses to get the same effect. This is what I call happiness hijacking. Companies spend billions of dollars studying neuroscience to design products that trigger these dopamine pathways. Social media algorithms are specifically programmed to create intermittent reinforcement schedules, the same psychological principle that makes gambling addictive. You never know when you'll get that next like, comment, or share, so your brain stays in a constant state of anticipation. The shopping industry uses similar tactics. They create artificial scarcity with limited time offers and flash sales. They use bright colors, urgent language, and social proof to trigger your brain's fear of missing out. Even the layout of stores is designed to maximize impulse purchases by placing high dopamine items at eye level and near checkout counters. Here's what's really disturbing. Despite having more access to pleasure-inducing activities than any generation in history, anxiety rates have increased by 47% since 2020, and depression rates are up 52%. Young adults aged 18 to 25 show the highest rates of both conditions, and this is the demographic that consumes the most digital entertainment and social media. Your brain's reward system becomes dysregulated when you prioritize instant gratification over meaningful experiences. Think of it like training a muscle. If you only do light exercises, your muscles become weak and can't handle heavier loads. Similarly, if you only give your brain quick dopamine hits, it loses the ability to appreciate slower, deeper forms of satisfaction. I had a client, a marketing manager, who realized she was spending 4 hours daily scrolling through Instagram and online shopping. She felt constantly restless and couldn't focus on conversations with her husband or children. When we tracked her mood throughout the day, she noticed that she felt worse right after these pleasure-seeking activities, not better. The difference between feeling good temporarily and experiencing lasting well-being comes down to what neuroscientists call the brain's prediction error system. When you expect something good to happen, and it does, you get a small reward. But when something unexpectedly good happens, especially something that involves connection or meaning, your brain releases a much larger cascade of positive neurochemicals. This is why spontaneous acts of kindness feel so good, or why unexpected quality time with loved ones creates such lasting memories. Your brain isn't prepared for these experiences, so it responds more strongly. Meanwhile, planned pleasures like scheduled shopping trips or anticipated social media sessions create smaller and smaller responses over time because your brain learns to expect them. The framework for understanding genuine happiness neurologically involves three key systems. First, the connection system, which involves oxytocin and vasopressin and activates when we bond with others. Second, the meaning system, which involves serotonin and activates when we contribute to something larger than ourselves. Third, the growth system, which involves BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and activates when we learn new skills or overcome challenges. Real happiness isn't a feeling you chase. It's a state you create through specific behaviors and mindset shifts. People who understand this distinction and focus on connection, meaning, and growth instead of pleasure, achievement, and external validation report significantly higher life satisfaction scores and show measurably different brain patterns on neuroimaging studies. The most successful interventions I've seen involve helping people recognize when they're seeking pleasure versus when they're building genuine happiness. It's not about eliminating all pleasurable activities, but about understanding their role and not depending on them for your emotional well-being. When you can distinguish between these two types of experiences, you can start making choices that actually improve your mental health instead of undermining it.